Hello, everyone. This is a live stream. This is a lecture on earned value analysis, management of operations, BUSN 6630, and spring 2021. And in this lecture, it's just going to be introducing EVA, earned value analysis, and it's part of project management. So let's bring up the syllabus, and just to well, let's bring up the syllabus. Here we go. Okay, here we are down here. I cover project management here mainly because it's close to operations management, but it's not the same. And so I want to give an introduction to it. I teach a course in project management, and I want to give an introduction to project management because it is very important. It's becoming more and more important these days. And some business schools even have project management as the initial course because project management pretty much connects with all parts of business. But I picked one technique, the earned value analysis, because it is useful not only in projects, but it's useful in any type of business situation. Whether you use it specifically to analyze your cost and your schedule, the concept is certainly beneficial. So that's what I'm covering in this lecture. Next week, it's going to be quality management. SPC is statistical process control charts. And we will talk about the quality control as far as process control charts are concerned. So these last two here, I picked those two because they're very practical. They're very useful. One is analyzing your schedule and your budget, EVA. The other is analyzing your quality and staying on task, your SPC. And so that's what we're doing these next 2 weeks before the break. Okay, and then when we come to the break after that, the review here, this review, I put it in here, getting ready for the exam and also for the individual projects. And we'll talk about that this week on April 27th. Okay, here we go. Let's look at the syllabus. So this is EVA, earned value analysis. That's a technique within project management. If we bring up Canvas and we come down to the website down here, mdharper.com, and we go to the project management tab, we can come down to there's going to be an earned value analysis. Let's see, can we find it here? There's a lot of scheduling, time, MCDM. I think I passed it. There is a video in here. It's a good one. I can find, here it is. EVA, video for EVA right here. And there's even an Excel file that goes with it. So right here, this video would be very helpful for this. Look at this video is probably better than my lecture is going to be today. But my lecture will go a little bit more applications. This focuses exactly how to use it. And there's an Excel spreadsheet that you can download and use it as well. Okay. So that's what we're doing today. Okay, so let's come down to project management, earned value analysis. Here's a Word file. So let's open this up and let's get going. Oh, let me see here. Actually, good question, Omar. Let me pop out the chat here and bring it over here. I popped it out. Oh, there we go. Is this lecture related to the previous scheduling lecture? It's different, but it's, how can I say? It's not related in technique at all, but it is related because it is used in scheduling. And you'll see. It's a different approach to scheduling. It's a different approach altogether. As a matter of fact, they're looking at costs as well as time. So they're looking at two things. And then critical path method and PERT, that's another perspective on scheduling. So you can have a whole course just on scheduling. There's a lot on scheduling to keep things on task and on schedule. Okay, so let's bring up the lecture notes. Here they are. Okay, and notice what I do here in these lecture notes. I first start with project management to talk about what it is, and then an overview of it. Then get into all the different knowledge areas and processes that are involved in it. And notice I've highlighted one here, control cost. So I'm looking at earned value analysis, and it resides in that process. Okay, and then down here, then I get into the project cost management. Okay, now, even though it's project cost management, it can be any type of cost management. Okay, and earned value analysis is part of earned value management. And then down here, I do the EVA part. Okay, so that's the overview. Let's do it. Okay, first of all, this is a rough introduction, like an elevator pitch introduction for project management. I feel that project management is extremely important in business because no matter where you go, what you do, you're going to be around projects. Okay, here we go. First of all, a good description of project management, not necessarily a definition, but a description, is the art and science of transforming an idea into a product or service. So there's some key words here. First of all, art and science is as much an art as it is a science. There is some science to it. The techniques, we'll look at some math today, but it's also an art. The way you apply it is not the same way 2 times in a row. And one person could do a project very differently than another person. So a lot of it is individualistic, very much so. Of transforming. Now, another key word here, transforming. In operations management, the transformation is from inputs to outputs. Here's your inputs, transform them to outputs, and just keep doing that, ongoing. That's operations. Project management is transforming not inputs to outputs, it's transforming an idea into an output, deliverable, product or service. So we're taking an idea, transforming an idea. To emphasize that, there's a lot of ideas. It's easy to come up with all different ideas. That doesn't mean you have a project. And so we'll see down here, part of project management is saying, when does an idea become a project? Then you know you're in a project, and that's what's important. Into a product and or service, this is some deliverable that's going to be delivered at the end of the project. Okay, so what is a project? A project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product or service. Well, this is a description of project management. This is a description of a project. There's 2 key parts of this. First is the term temporary. I think one significant characteristic of projects is they're temporary. They're time dependent, time related. They're time restricted, time constrained. You start, you stop, you're done with the project. Business is not that way. Operations is not that way. You start and you keep going, and it's continuous and continuous. The next is undertaking to create a unique. And the idea of unique, a lot of people say, wait a minute, I've done this project millions of times. Like I teach this course millions of times, not millions of times. I teach this course a lot. So how can this be a unique project? Well, every time you teach, every time you do something like this, it's going to be different every time. And so the uniqueness is the art part, is the artistic part. In other words, the uniqueness is that you're going to respond and be agile, which I talk about in supply chain, agile and unique in that saying, I'm going to make this work for this situation, at this particular time, at this place, with these people. And even though I've done it before, it's going to be a little bit different. Each project is unique in that way. What's project management? Well, project management is the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques, and all 4 of those have a very specific definition, to project activities. Now we're looking at the details of a project that completes the scope of the project on time within budget. Now we have 3 things going on here: scope, time, and budget in order to meet or exceed stakeholder needs and expectations. So now we have another term called stakeholders. So in this definition, there's a lot going on. First of all, the knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques, as I say, are very specific. So this information that I use in the lecture and my courses and everything in project management comes from the Project Management Institute. And if you go to the Project Management Institute, come back here, let's open this up and go to pmi.org, projectmanagementinstitute.org. And here it is. And notice right here, you can have certifications. There's all different kinds of certification. You can be a membership. Over here, here we go. PMBOK guides and standards. Let's see here. Overview, foundation of standards. And there it is. So this is pretty much what this lecture is based on. This is where this guide right here, this is the guide that I use in my courses. Okay. And there's where the knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques are defined. To project activities, we break it up to the scope, time, and budget. That's called the triple constraint, where you have scope is what you're doing, time is the schedule, budget is the money or resources. And so all three of those together have to be managed and balanced by the project manager. And why? To meet or exceed stakeholder needs and expectations. In other words, a business focuses on business objectives. A project focuses on stakeholder needs and expectations. So the objective of a project is not the same objective as a business. So a project could be part of a business strategy, but a project directive is to meet or exceed stakeholder needs and expectations. So stakeholders define success. Okay, project terms here. First of all, phases have to do with time orientation of a project. Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3. Process groups. These 5 groups, here is where, in these groups is where all the techniques, knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques reside. And we'll look at one of them today, cost. Knowledge areas, and there's cost right there, and there it is. And here are 10 knowledge areas that they use to define areas of processes. Now, these 5 things are all, I say, always should be part of a project. First, a charter initiates a project. A scope statement defines the project in detail. The integrated change control, because it's unique, that you're always going to have change. And so the integrated change control, integrated change control should always be part of a project. Whether it's formal, informal, it's always going to be that way. Okay, stakeholder analysis. Since stakeholder is going to be the definition of a project, the direction of a project, and validation of the success of a project, you need to always analyze your stakeholders from the beginning to the end. In front of the project plan, here are the details. This is the details of work that's actually going to be done. And notice here's cost, budget. Right here within this knowledge area, there's going to be the earned value management and earned value analysis. That's what we're covering today. One glimpse into this whole body of knowledge of project management. Types of projects. Now, what we're doing today can be applied to event project management, construction project management, and it is used a lot in construction. Technology project management. Technology in that maybe software development or high tech. Like NASA or Lockheed Martin, and supply chain project management. That is growing in popularity because of the supply chain. And that got a lot of attention in 2020 and even in 2021, the supply chain of pharmaceuticals and the cold chain of the cold chain of food, the food chain. All that's going to be very important to keep it going and also to be agile and resilient. Okay. Now, this next page is just looking at all of, if you ever want to be certified in project management, these are the knowledge areas here, okay? And these are the processes within the knowledge area. And notice there are 47 processes, 10 knowledge areas. And so, so being certified is not just taking a test on like one of these things, it's understanding all of them. Okay, today we'll look in this process of controlling cost. We'll look at controlling cost with earned value management, and within that, we'll look at one technique called the earned value analysis. Okay, that was my introduction. Let's do it. Okay, project cost management. Again, there are 4 processes in here. The 4 processes are these right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I list them again. You plan your cost to get the plan. You estimate the cost to get the cost. Okay, you determine your budget is called a baseline, and then you do your earned value management within that management area. You have the analysis. Okay, here's the setup. Here we go. Okay, first you have, suppose we had a 6-month project with the following budget or cost baseline. So here, when you estimate your costs, right there is the cost estimates of the 7 activities in this project. Assume this project is made up of 7 different activities, and these are the estimated, right here, the estimated cost of each of those activities. Second, if you determine your budget, a budget is really taking this cost and applying it on a timeline. That's how I'm defining it. Well, in project management, a budget is called a cost baseline. Why? Because of the uniqueness and also the change, because everything is going to change in a project. Every project changes. Then you have an initial baseline, and you might have different baselines as you go through the project. In other words, you reevaluate your budget. And so it's called a cost baseline until we change it. So when you take the cost and you spread them over time, you have a cost baseline in project management terminology, or a budget. Okay, so we have this 6-month project. Here are the costs. Okay, and these are expenditures, and we'll be posting the expenditures against the budget or the cost baseline. Now, this is key. Let's start the project. Suppose we started the project in January. And in January here, we started doing work. We started accomplishing things, making progress, spending money, posting that money against the baseline here. We start spending money, expenditures, and post them here. Doing work, and recording it. And so at the end of March, we do this for 3 months. So at the end of March, let me highlight this right here. Let me make this bigger here. There we go. So at the end of March, we stop and we analyze our project. Okay. Okay, at the end of March, our total cost is $12,500. Well, that $12,500, that is how much money we've spent. Well, we know that because we see it posted, okay? But we also report that of activities 1, 2, and 3, 1 and 2 are 100% completed, and 3 is 60% completed. So now we have this also as a report at the end of March. So at the end of March, these 2 things have happened. Okay, so let's look at this a little bit. Okay, first of all, well, at the end of March, what's the cost baseline? Here's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, well, the cost baseline here, let's put it right next to it. Is $8,000. So our cost baseline is $8,000, but we spent $12,500. So we spent more than our cost baseline or our budget. So we're overspending. So we're spending more than we should, at least the first 3 months of this project. So we're overspending, and the earned value analysis should indicate that, and it will, and I'll show you how in just a second. So now let's come down here and look at the progress here. How much has been done? Well, we have 1 and 2 is 100%. Well, here's activity 1 is scheduled to be done at the end of February. Activity 2 is scheduled to be done at the end of April, but it's reported to be 100% done. So it's 100% done already at the end of April. Now, activity 3 is 60% done. Well, if we look at this cost here, 33,000 out of a total of 5,000 here, that's 60%. So if we just look at the dollar amount, that's not accurate. Dollar doesn't always equate with work being done, but it's a good measure. It's a good surrogate, so we'll use that. And so it looks like we're about 60% done. But look at activity 2. Activity 2 is already done. Here, it's reported to be 100% done, but it should only be 20, 30, 60% done, but we're 100% done. Are the numbers from January to March based on costs? I assume you're talking about these numbers here. Yeah, see these will sum to 2, these here sum to 5, these sum to 5. So essentially we took these costs and spread them over time, if that's what you mean by that. But these are actually costs for the project, cost in the project of having to do it. So when you estimate these costs, you estimate, what are your resources, what's the people, what's the equipment, what outsourcing, procurement, all kinds of material, all kinds of stuff. Or projection. These are projections. These are estimates. This right here is an actual expenditures that have been posted to the budget. So these are actual numbers. These are actual. 12,500 is the actual number. 8,000 was the projected number at the beginning of the projected cost at the beginning of the project. So they projected or estimated 8,000. They budgeted 8,000. They spent 12,500. So they spent more than the budget. So they're overspending. And over here, well, we have 100% done. So let's go ahead and take this. These right here. So all these are estimates. This right here is an actual dollar amount that has been spent. So right here, 2 is 100% done. So 2 is 100% done. Let's go all the way to here. So we are ahead of schedule. So we're ahead of schedule. So if we're ahead of schedule, then the EVA, the Unbound Analysis, should indicate that, and it will, and I'll show you. So now, from this report, we are over budget and ahead of schedule. And so the Earned Value Analysis should tell us that. So Earned Value Analysis within Earned Value Management monitors your budget and your schedule as you go through a project. Are you ahead of schedule, behind schedule, over budget, under budget? So it's a way to manage a project. Okay, here's some other terminology. There's a lot of terminology. I'm giving a very basic introduction to this. There's a lot of terminology and other types of analyses. We won't go into them in this course. So let's do the Earned Value Analysis. Here we go. Okay, first of all, it's a 6-month project, and there's a 1, 2, 3, there's a 6 months right there. Here's the cost baseline. So here are the steps, and I do these steps in the video. Step 1, sum every row. Now, when we sum every row, this is called the planned value, PV. Let's back up here. PV is called a planned value, And so this is what we plan to do. It's an estimate, it's a projected, it's a forecast, it's a planned value. So this is the amount of dollars we plan to spend on activity 1. 2, we sum every column. Okay, by the way, the PV of an activity here, that PV of the activity is the same as the cost estimates of the activities. So those numbers there are the cost, and the PV of the activities are identical. Same thing. We sum every column right here, and that's the PV of a time period, in this case a month. So this is the PV of an activity. Here's the PV plan value of a time period. Now this plan value is very helpful, very useful, because this basically talks about your cash flow. Here's your requirements of your cash flow throughout this project. And this is very typical, 1, 3, 4, 8, 6, 3. It goes up and comes back down. That's really common. And so when you plan it, and since some of you guys, I suspect, are dealt with projects and different types of organizations, whether it's government or military, and so if you well, I can tell a lot of stories in this. I got to be careful not to tell too many stories. We'll never get through this. But this is common in industry. It goes like 1, 3, 4, 8, 6, 3. It goes up and comes back down, like a bell curve, or skewed somehow. But if you have the access to spend this money, say in government, military, or a military contractor, and then what happens is that you know that this project can be pulled any moment. So where's all this money going to be spent? It's all going to be spent up front to make sure you get it done, because you get the main deliverables done as early as you can, because by April or May, you may never be able to finish it. So you finish your critical things first, critical things first, and spend the money first to get it set up, and then play it out. Anyway, that's a little bit beyond what we're doing here. Okay, number 3, we sum all of the values to get 25,000. So that's the planned value of the project. This is a planned value of an activity, planned value of a time period, and this is the planned value of the entire project. Okay, and it's the 25,000 which is used as an adjective. Now up here, brought up here, it's a $25,000 project. It's like an adjective. So we have 6-month, $25,000 project. So that's the first 3 things you do. Next, we come up here and take these percentages, 100, 160, because that's the work that's been done, and we put it right here, 100, 160. And there it is. Okay, now from this percentage of work actually performed, you calculate something called the earned value. EV stands for earned value. Earned value. Okay, and the way you do this is very interesting. You take the percentage times the total planned value, you multiply it to get the earned value for that activity. So if you have 100% completed, and this activity has a value of $2,000, then you've earned $2,000. Now, earned value, a lot of people will argue, correctly so, wait a minute, you've earned activity 1, but activity 1 is only the $2,000 just dollars. So that doesn't mean work or effort, because something might be expensive, but it's not as much work. Something is inexpensive, it's more work. So that's not really accurate. True, but the idea here is that on a large project, more than 7 activities, this is a very good measure of if you're on track with your budget, but also on track with accomplishing the work according to the budget. Because usually the budget and the amount of work to be done is relatively close on large projects. And if they're not, then you go back, you redesign the scope to make sure your activities are broken up. Like if all 5 of these is one activity, okay, well maybe that activity is too big. You break it up into smaller activities such that the cost represents the actual work being performed. So 5,000 times 100%, 5,000 times 60% is 3,000. You add this up, And that $10,000 is called the earned value. In other words, at the end of March, this percentage here identifies how much of the $25,000 we've earned. We have earned $10,000 out of the $25,000 of the project. So I bring the 10,000, bring it down here, and that's the first of three values. It's the first of three values that I need for the EVA at the end of March. So I bring the 10,000 down, and there's my earned value. The second is called actual cost. AC is actual cost. We come back up here. See, AC is the actual cost. Again, that's just the 12,500. Actual. That's measured. That's not predicted. It's not forecast. It is an actual cost. So you bring the 12,500 down right here, and there it is. That's the second value you need in the EVA. The third value is the planned value of the EVA. Well, we have the planned value of an activity. We have the planned value of a time period. We have the planned value of the actual project. This is the planned value of the EVA. Well, the EVA is right here. EVA is performed at the end of March right here. So what's the planned value? What's 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5, plus 3 is 8. So the planned value is $8,000. So the planned value is $8,000 for the EVA. So now that we have these three values from the EVA at the end of March, from the cost baseline and the reports, now down here is technically the earned value analysis. Move my stuff around over here. There we go. Okay, here we go. Okay, first of all, notice there's two variances, there's two indexes, and there's two estimates at completion. First of all, the variances, and I have the equations here. So the arithmetic is pretty straightforward. So the variances, you always take the earned value, but for the cost variance, you subtract the actual cost from the earned value. 10,000 minus 12,500, it's a minus 2,500, and there it is. The schedule variances start with the earned value. You subtract the planned value from the earned value, which is 12,500 minus 8,000. That should be 12,500. Oh, no, I'm right. The 10,000 minus 8,000. Almost made a mistake. Okay. The earned value minus the planned value. 10,000 minus 8,000 plus 2,000. Okay. So first is just doing the subtraction. So now we have a minus 2,500 for the cost variance, plus 2,000 for the schedule variance. Now before we go on, let's interpret these. Okay, the interpretation is simply plus is good, minus is bad. That's how I remember it. Plus is good, minus is bad. Well, what's a good cost variance? Well, good cost means you're under budget. A bad cost means you're over budget. Well, it's negative, so it's bad. That means I'm over budget. Well, remember up here, I said we are spending more. We're overspending over our budget. It should detect that and reveal that, and it does with a negative cost variance, which means we're over budget. But notice what really it is. It's that your earned value, what you've earned, is less than what you've spent. You've earned less in dollars than what you've spent in dollars. So it's all about dollars. Okay. But then the schedule variance, positive is good, negative is bad. Well, for a schedule, positive means you're ahead of schedule. That's good. Negative, bad, means you're behind schedule. Well, notice, let's see, it's positive, that's good, which means you're ahead of schedule. Well, if you look up here, remember, we were ahead of schedule right here. Let me darken that in a little bit more. So we were ahead of schedule here, and sure enough, on the schedule variance, that's going to be positive. So right there, we can tell exactly if we're ahead of schedule, behind schedule, over budget or under budget. Now, if we're right on schedule and we're right on budget, not over, under, ahead, or behind, then these would simply be 0. Okay, the second two are cost performance index. Okay, so now these are the actual absolute measures of being over, under, ahead, or behind. So really, we are about $500 over budget based on work completed. Well, no, technically we're like $2,500 over. $2,500 over budget from work completed. I think that, if I understand your question. So the indexes here, it's the same numbers. It's the same two numbers, instead of a minus sign, we divide. 10,000 over 12,500.8, 10,800 is 1.25, we divide. Okay, so we have an index now. So for cost and schedule, we can still interpret that good and bad. Above 1 is good, below 1 is bad. If it's equal to 1, that means you're right on schedule and you're right on budget. Okay, well, look at cost performance index. It's less than 1, that's bad, which means you're over budget. Schedule performance index is greater than 1, which is good, which means you're ahead of schedule. Now, the value of the indexes here it's relative. This is an absolute measure of dollars. This is a relative measure to an index. And it's interesting that the index oh, I see what you're saying. The work completed is 10,000. Okay. It's relative. The earned value is relative. What you've earned is relative to what you're spending and relative to what you plan to achieve. But the value of the indexes here is now they're relative, and so you can just have an index and follow these indexes over time. And the indexes over time are very easy to identify if you're above or below. And so the metrics of the indexes are easy to follow, easy to report, and fairly easy to understand. And on those, you can have standardized brackets within, like a control chart, within which is going to be fine if it's above it. If it's above 1.1, 20%, 1.2 or 0.8, above or below, maybe action needs to be taken or looking at it. And then so this is done just at the end of March. But that doesn't mean you can do it at the end of March, end of April, end of May. So you can do it multiple times. You can keep tracking it to make sure everything is in line. Okay. Well, the last two things are estimates at completion. Now, the estimates at completion simply say, well, the cost variance and the performance index, that is measuring the condition of the project at a point in time. And that point in time is the end of March. Now, the estimates of completion are estimating the condition of the project at a future point in time. And that is at completion, when it's done. So here's the concept. It says, okay, let's look at the estimated cost at completion right here. Well, my cost up here is negative. Cost variance is negative, which means I'm over budget. So if I'm over budget, and if that pattern continues to completion, then I will expect to spend more than $25,000 because I'm overspending, and I will spend more than $25,000. So I'm on a path to spend much more than $25,000. How much more? Well, based on the indexes at the end of March, if that pattern continues, then I'll take the 25,000 here, 25,000. I divide by the cost performance index of 0.8, and I will estimate my estimated completion to be $31,250. So if I continue the way I'm going, then I'm on a path to spend $31,250 for this project instead of $25,000. Same with the time. Well, I'm ahead of schedule, and if that pattern continues to completion, if I'm ahead of schedule and I stay ahead of schedule to when I'm done, then I will be done early. Well, it takes 6 months, so I'll be done in less than 6 months. Well, the question is how much less? Again, I take the time of completion, which is 6 months. I divide by the schedule performance index, and I will estimate the completion to be around 4.8 months. So 1.2 months early. And so these are evaluating the project at a point in time, and these are estimating the project at a future point in time. Now we're doing this at completion, but you can do this at any time during the project in the future. So these really simple indexes can be very powerful in managing projects and reporting projects, in making sure that you direct projects, and so they can be very powerful. Now, before we go further, let me just show how this stuff can be used. First of all, these indexes can be used to monitor over time, and so this is not hard to do. It's pretty simple to do, but it's not obvious. A lot of people don't do it, and so if you can monitor with your indexes, with your performance indexes, your cost and schedule, the question arises, it begs the question, how can you be surprised to be over budget and late? How can that be a surprise to you if you use this and monitor it through the project? It should never be a surprise. You should see it coming. It's not going to happen just all of a sudden. That's very rare. I would say so rare that it's unlikely. And so you should be able to see the budget is high, you're behind schedule. You should see those things early enough and correct them before it gets out of hand. That's one thing. The second thing is that notice this one is ahead of schedule and over budget. Well, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Is that a good thing or bad thing? Not necessarily for the project's design and planning, but what about the project in real life, in industry? What types of projects do you want? You're right, Craig. What types of projects do you want to be ahead of schedule but over budget? You're overspending, but you get it done faster. Well, let's talk about costs. If cost doesn't matter, then you'll spend it to be done early. So here, cost doesn't matter, but time does matter. What types of projects, what types of industries and organizations and projects does that allude to? That the money doesn't matter, but the time does matter. Time dependent. And you have plenty of, so when you have deep pockets, very large organizations like the government, the military, they have a lot of money, but you got to get this done on time. And early is better. So this is the kind of pattern the project manager wants to report to the stakeholders. Yes, I'm over budget, but I'm ahead of schedule. Good. Keep going. Keep going. That type of thing. Because in government and in high tech, you want to get it done faster. That's right. You guys are getting the idea. That's right. Good comments. Good comments. Yeah, the this type of tracking and earned value analysis, it can't. This is very rough estimates. And notice I'm looking at only 7 activities and the totals here. You can do this in parts of a project. You can do this fairly granular. So the concept can be used in general and very specific. So it depends on your application. But you can monitor it. And so the types of organizations that have deep pockets, a lot of money, and time dependent on these projects to get them early, like high tech. You mentioned high tech, that if you're late, then you've missed the boat. You might as well not even have done it, because other people are going to beat you to the market. Okay, what about the other way? Let's do it the other way. That you can be late, over behind schedule, and you can go over, but you want to be under budget. So what types of projects you can be late but do it cheaply? What kind of companies and projects does that apply to? Well, a lot of times it's just the opposite of deep pockets. You don't have that much money. You have limited funds. Maybe your funds initially were this much, it was cut to this much all of a sudden, and you have to get it done. Okay, but you have less money to do it. So fine, I'll get it done, but since I have less money to do it, and I'm not going to be getting any more money, then it's going to take longer to do. And there's where the triple constraint comes in. Okay, so one, you have limited funds. Two, the time doesn't matter. What matters is the cost. The cost is cost is king. Okay, and so if you're looking at the cost as the bottom line, then you'll let these projects go over. The time doesn't matter. In other words, if you have a very mature industry, you have an industry that it's not going away, it doesn't matter when it gets done as long as it gets done, fine, it'll get there. In very mature projects and very mature companies and very mature industries, even mature and even decline, then it really doesn't matter that. No one's going to notice if you're late, because no one's going to ask, because it doesn't really affect anything that much. So those are two extremes, but understanding the company, the industry, the project, and understanding how these indexes go together, hey, that is where you manage these projects. So they can be extremely powerful. What types of industries are cost sensitive? Well, I say startups. Startups, you have so much money and you've got to make a profit pretty darn soon or you're going to run out of money. You don't have endless amount of monies. So a startup, entrepreneurship, is an industry that's very, you get things done quickly. And also, you want to get them done, but you have limited funds. When that money goes away, it goes away, and so that's one area where you have to be really careful with limited funds, and you have to meet your deadlines. And well, other industries that are cost sensitive. Well, you guys can come up with a lot of things. I didn't ask that in the homework. I think I should have. I think I should have asked that in the homework. What types of industry have the difference? Well, I do ask that in my project management course. We go into this a lot more in project management. That's true. Good point, Sridevi. Good point. A company wants to make a profit. They want to lower costs to make a profit. That's true. That's true. Or they have a fixed income. They have a fixed revenue stream, and that cost. Lowering the cost will increase your profitability, especially if you want to grow equity. So you got to be careful on how you manage things. A lot of operations is looking at lowering cost because they are cost sensitive. Most companies are cost sensitive, very conservative. Okay, more in the conservative scale, risk averse type scales of risk. They're going to be very cost sensitive. Okay, the next thing think you can appreciate we can talk about specific companies. We can talk about different industries. We can talk about, if we were in a project management course, we'll talk about, well, what can you do in these different industries to manage your project accordingly. We won't do that tonight, but that's getting into project management. And so we're just, there's a really simple indexes and variances that can be very powerful and very helpful. And the more you use them, the more you understand them. And as you can tell, you might appreciate, there's a lot more analysis than just these 6 terms. But I haven't really talked about the last 2 terms. Let me talk about the last 2 terms. The estimates at completion. Estimated time, estimated cost. Now, I have a really good story about this. It was related to me as a true story. But I don't know because I wasn't there, but I was teaching this years ago, and 2 project managers, certified project managers, came up to me after class when I was going over this lecture and talking about how it's used, and 2 of them came up because they knew the project, and they said, "Yeah, we want to tell you a story about this that happened to us." I said, "Sure," and this is a while back, a long time ago. And here's a story. It's a really good one. They said, and I'll shorten it because it won't take too much time, that years ago, a hospital was growing, and they were growing so fast they ran out of beds. And so they had more people, more patients, and they didn't have enough beds to satisfy the patient load. So they went to a funding agency and says, "We need more money. We need to build another wing." So they got the money because they identified the need. So they got the money, they got a project manager, and now they have the construction project to build this new wing. Well, let's use these numbers here. So the project manager said, "Fine, it'll take 6 months to build this wing. It'll cost $25,000. We'll use these numbers." And they said, "Fine, good." And so they start building January, February, March, and then at the end of March, they did an earned value analysis and reported to the administration. And the hospital administration, they said, "How's it going?" And the project manager said, "We're going fine." He says, "Well, we're actually over budget. We're overspending, but we're ahead of schedule." And they go, "Oh, okay. Now, we have 2 options for you. Option 1, if you want us to, we're overspending, but we're doing it such that we're ahead of schedule. Because if you're ahead of schedule, a lot of times you overspend to get ahead of schedule. And that's what we're doing. Now, if you don't want us to, and if we're overspending, if we continue to overspend, we'll go over the $25,000 estimate. But if you want us to hit the $25,000 estimate, then we can stop spending and cut back on the spending, and we can slow up the production. And we've done this enough to know we can get it done right at 6 months at $25,000 if that's what you want." That's option 1. Option 2, if you will allow us to continue to overspend, then we will get done early. So the hospital said, "Okay, well, how much more money do you need?" "Oh, well, from $25,000, and we want $31,250, which we need $6,250 more dollars." "Okay. Well, how much earlier can you be?" "Well, instead of 6 months, I can do this in 4.8 months. So if you give us $6,250 more dollars, then we'll get this done in 1.2 months. So $6,250 will buy you 1.2 months. Do you want to do that? Yes or no? If no, we'll go back to the 6 month $25,000. If yes, then you give us $6,250 at the end of the project, and we'll get it done in 1.2 months. So the hospital said, "Oh, okay, well, let's see here. If this wing was built 1.2 months early, and we filled it up, how much revenue can we generate from this wing over 1.2 months compared to the marginal cost of accelerating the completion date?" And you guys probably know as well as I do, a marginal cost, you'll have the cost of the project. Marginal cost is usually fairly small. That marginal cost, making it early, their revenue would more than offset what that marginal cost is going to be. So the hospital administration came back and said, do it. Get it done early. Overspend. We'll find the money. I said, okay. They did. So now the project manager had a win-win situation. Not only did he get more money, he got it earlier so that he can take his project team and go out and go to the next project and make even more money. But it's also a win-win for the hospital. Because first of all, why would a hospital want to have a wing built early so they can start servicing the community? Because that's why they exist. And that's going to be community goodwill. It's going to be the funding agency says, yes, you did get it done early, on and on and on. So that is all benefit to that hospital. But what about the money? They had to spend more. Yes, 1.2 months early, but then at the 6-month point, they'll take that revenue, offset the marginal cost, and offset the $25K. And they'll say our net after the revenue, because we got done early, our net was less than $25,000. So they could argue effectively we got it done early for a net cost of less than what we plan on doing it. And so they really look good in their management. And so that's an example of how this can be used. And I would argue, it's a good argument, that could never have been done if you didn't have these numbers to sit down and negotiate and plan. So there's a glimpse into how this can be done and how this can be used. And so this is just a really brief introduction to earned value analysis. There's a lot more to it than this, but man, this is a start. If you understand this, then this is a good foundation basis to build on. And maybe someone wants to go further than this in the project. It's fine with me. Okay. Now I do have some exercises down here. And by the way, this example is over budget ahead of schedule. I'm sure you can come up with other examples of under budget ahead of schedule. Under budget behind schedule. I'm sure you could come up with those kinds of things and scenarios. Okay. And I come up with 4 or 5 of them in my project management course. They're fun to do, fun to think of. And the more you think of it, the more you begin to understand how these things can be applied. And you walk into projects and companies and be watching for the right things, being circumspect when you walk in and seeing what's going on around you. Okay. I have an exercise set down here. And so what I've done here, I give you the EVA. And so notice from the PV, you'll know, and here's your earned value. Basically, it's an exercise. So I give you all of the numbers here just to make sure that you can actually get these numbers as you go through. So I just kind of put a bunch of numbers. People asked for this a while back, so I did it just to be complete so you can see how to do it. And you can do this in Excel, and that's why on the website, some of you may be tuned in late. In my website, under Project Management tab, come down here under the PMBOK 2, right here, the 5th edition. I have a video right here which explains exactly what I did today, probably a little better than I did today, but I'm telling stories and I don't do the stories there. But also the Excel file. So these 2 things here you can use for the homework, which will work quite well for the homework. Okay. Now, bringing back up the syllabus, I want to point out that here at the end here, I try not to get in too much depth because you only have 1 week of doing these things. I try to be very straightforward with the schedule, with MRP, scheduling, project management, and quality control, and then 8 coming up. But anyway, that's really all of the material I had for tonight. Okay, the other thing which would be might be valuable for just a few minutes, and it's only been here an hour, but I'm almost done. We'll have a short night tonight, if that's okay with you. Wait a minute here. The cost estimates are based on the required tasks. The projection cost are they determined by the schedule. See, Craig, let me think about what you mean by that. The projection cost determined by the schedule. I'm not sure what you mean by determined by the schedule. You can maybe ask me again, and I'll come back to it. When will we do the exam review? That review. Now notice the exam right here. I'll do the review probably here on the April 27th. Okay. Oh, by the way, that's going to be plenty of time to prepare. It's all this week. It's 3 weeks. Okay. And during those 3 weeks, we'll have quiz 8 here on May 2nd, but the exam and then also your individual project reports. Yeah, I didn't finish the Memo 4 grades. You'll have the Memo 4 grades this week. I started them. I haven't finished them, but you'll have them next day or two. They're looking good. They look really good. And that's usually the case when you do Memo 1, 2, 3, and 4. By the time you get the 4th one, people are dialing it in. Some of these things are really professional, really good. That's why I like doing this in this course. I don't know. My feeling is that should be a takeaway. It's a takeaway from the course. I mean, remember that these are a problem explained, a solution explained, a video explained how you did it. 3 very valuable things. So I would recommend you keep those. When can I expect a project report? I assume you're talking about these down here. At this review here, I'm reviewing the exam and reviewing the individual projects. Oh yeah, can we quickly go over the proper units for quiz 6? Question 1, do you want flow days, jobs, or job day for that minimum? Yeah, we could do that. The projected cost in January and February. Let's bring this back. I'm assuming you're talking about these, Craig. I assume you're talking about these costs projected here at the beginning here, projected 1,000, 2,000. Yeah, let's go over some of these. Let's see here. First, quiz 6. And then quiz 5. I'll go ahead and do quiz 6, question 1. Okay, let me pull it up here. By the way, I'm done with a lecture. I'm done with EVA, so we can look at the homework here. Let's pull this up here. Let's see here. Quiz 6. Oh. Let me get to it. Okay, quiz 6, question 1. Okay, and do you want flow days per job or jobs per day for that minimum? Yeah. Okay, I see what you're asking. What is the minimum average time a job will be held in-house before distribution to the customer that can be achieved for that order? So that's the time per job, an average time per job. Okay, and so let's hopefully that average time a job is in-house. The average time per job, average flow per job. So let's bring up the lecture. Here we go. Yeah, I think this is what we're talking about right here. This is the lecture right here. So right here you have average flow per job. Okay, that's what I'm talking about there. Average flow per job. Let me make sure that I answered it that way. Yep. Yep. Okay, hopefully that, let's see who asked that, Becca. I hope that answers your question right there. And so you get your total flow, you get the total flow, and then divide by the number of jobs, whatever it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 9 jobs. So you get the total flow divided by 9, whatever that is. Yep. Actually, yeah. Oh, here's a good one. Here's a good question. I had trouble uploading the video file. Looks like it is not attached. How can we resubmit it? Resubmit. I don't like to mess with Canvas. Just email it to me. But make sure you identify this course so I'll know where it goes. Okay. And now these videos, the memos and the videos, like if you missed something or you didn't do something right on the memos or something, you can resubmit it, because I want the memos to maybe redo them to a takeaway. I want it to be a takeaway to this course. So you can certainly resubmit them, and I can accept them later up until the end of the course. Okay, so just email them to me and identify this course. Where am I here? Here we go. Oh, here we go. Simba. Can we quickly go over quiz 5, question 3? Sure. Quiz 5, question 3. This is quiz 6. Quiz 5. Quiz 5. Let's go over quiz 5. Getting a lot of things open here. Oh, let me pull it up here. Quiz 5, question 3. Sure. Oh yeah, this one. Let's see here. A lot of people did ask about this one. Let's see if we have an MRP. Here's an MRP. So here's an MRP. The way you calculate So notice what I'm saying here is that total inventory cost, which is the carrying and ordering cost. So right here, let's just look at one of these. Let's look at this MRP. This is an MRP right here. So right here, during this period, the order frequency is 1. We place one order. On May 2nd, we place an order. So the frequency is 1. Okay, now bring this down here like this. Now remember, this projected stock balance is the inventory on hand for the next period. So this is 45, 35, 33, 20, and 10. And so if you average all of those numbers right there, that's your average inventory. So if you have the order frequency of 1, average inventory of the average of those numbers. So there's your order frequency and average inventory. So now, to get the total inventory cost, let's see here. Let me do it. Let me see. Let me put it up here. To get the total inventory cost, that's going to equal the order frequency times the unit ordering cost plus the average inventory times the carrying cost. That's how you do it. You do that for each MRP, and then you add them all together. So for this problem, there was a number of wherever it went. Oh, it was right here. So for this problem, there were 1, 2, 3. There were 4. There are 4 of these things: A, B, C, and end item. So you do it 4 times and add them up. That's how you do that. Did I do it? Yeah. Did I do it on the Q&A? This is the kind of thing I should have done on the Q&A if I didn't. That way everyone could see it. I hope that helps on how to do that. Quiz 5, question 2. And quiz 5, question 4. Quiz 5, question 2. Yeah, these just represent the planned order release rows of each of these items. If that's what you're wondering. In question 4, okay, now this one, I'm pretty sure I made a video, did I not? I made a video on this one, and I'm pretty sure I made a video on this one. Let's look and see. No, that's inventory. And that's going to be the homework. Yep, there's a video right here, homework video. And I'm pretty sure down here up. Let me back up and see. This is quiz 5. Let me back up here. Wrong one. Sorry, guys. Here we go. Oh, yes, it's ABC. File, video. Yeah, here it is. Quiz 5. There it is. Yeah, this is where I go through and actually calculate it. And I calculate it in the, I do it step by step and calculate it. I was hoping that would help. Actually, I think I worked it all the way through. So all the answers are there. I worked it through to get the answers. So you can just pull it off. Could you work that on the Excel template? Able to get through the POR when I went through Excel. Quiz 5, question 2. So Danny, you're talking about quiz 5, question 2. Don't need this anymore. Quiz 5. Oh, I see. Yeah. Going through each of these. So, yeah, I think I posted it. Let me pull up the answer to this. I think I posted it on... we come down here. Yeah, here it is. Yeah. So here's what we did. Here's what we did each of the MRPs. So this is the end item. This is the A item, B item, and C item for this problem. This problem right here. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Yeah, question 2. This question 2 is the inventory policy. And so the way you generate this table, like B is the right answer right here. So notice this right here is just for the MRPs. So here's the end item. It's 09500. That's the planner release row. 09500. It should be the same. Yeah, 09500. The A item is 48, then 14 and 12, 12 for A, B, and C. And down here you can see it's 48, 14, and 12, 12. So you just pull the planned order release row off of each one. So you do build on question 2, you do build a table, but you just copy these off the planned order release row of the MRPs. That's all you do to get those numbers. And I hope that's what you're asking. Okay. Could you do B or C item as a, do the MRP of the B and C? Yeah, sure. We're going to do the C here. Notice the C is 2 C's for every end item. Okay, so here's my end item. So 2 times 9 is going to be 18, and 2 times 5 is 10 to get the gross requirements. So the scheduled receipt was 12. This is 38. So the 38 plus 12 is 50. 50 minus 18 is 44. 44 minus 10 is going to be 34, but that drops below 36. So I have to order 12. So my lead time, I come back. No, wait a minute. 50 minus 18 is 32, which is less than 36. So I have to order 12. So lead time is 1. I come back, order 12. So then 12 plus 50 is 62, minus 18 is 44. Now 44 minus 10 is 34. Again, that's below 36. I have to order 12 again. See? And then this is 44 plus 12 is 56, minus 10 is 46. Then the 46 carries over. So that's how you would do the C, because it's a minimum of 12. I hope that helps on C. And then for B is 3 times the end item. So 3 times 9 is 27. 3 times 5 is 15. Then you go through it the same way. So when this drops below 20, it's 6 plus. Then you order. Everything over 6 is lot for lot. Today's lecture, estimated time of completion. How do you get TOC? Oh, that's just from the, cost baseline. You count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 months. That's all that is. See, it's 6 months. See, so TOC is 6. It's just how many months there are. 6 months. Good. Dana. Okay. Yeah, that'd be fine. We can connect offline. Actually, what we can do here right now, how does this sound? The live stream is very good with a lecture and a few questions here and there. But now we're getting into more of a conversation, and I think that would be much better through Zoom. And so, if you go to the website, hopefully everyone is there, and you go to home. And you go to any of these places, we're right here, wherever we are, and where is Zoom? I think I went past it here. Live stream, office hours right here. So I think I'll wait here. If there's any more questions that people want to ask here, I'll answer them. Otherwise, I think, see, it's 8 o'clock. I think I'll shut it down here in just a couple of minutes and just close off. And this is being recorded, and I'll post it. But then if there's a conversation that needs to dive down and dig down a little deeper, when I close this down, I'll open office hours, and we'll come to office hours. Then we can have a conversation. Okay? And Dana, we may be able to do that if that's okay with you. But I'll open up office hours if anyone wants to come and ask questions about the material. That way we can work it here for another 30 minutes or however long it takes. And I think if we can talk it out, and I can see your spreadsheet and see what you're doing and see exactly what you're asking, I think it's easier to answer your questions then. Okay. Well, again, that's all I had for this lecture. And actually next week, that lecture is going to be fairly straightforward too. That's going to be short too. We're getting short so we can start focusing on the exam and the individual projects at the end of the semester. We've covered a lot of material already. Okay, so I'll wait just a few more minutes. I can delay here. That's all I'm going to be covering in this earned value analysis. I think I took this whole week here just to look at this. It's pretty straightforward, but it's important to go over it again and again to really understand the concepts behind it because it's valuable. Okay, well, I'll shut this down. Here we go. Okay, and if anyone wants, I'll open office hours, the Zoom. If anyone wants to come and ask questions, then I'll be there and to answer your questions right after this. So this is all I have for tonight. So I'll sign off here and close this off. So between now and the next time I see you, I just want to tell everyone to take care.